Or in another word, we can say that whenever a conductor cuts across the magnetic line of flux, an EMF is always induced in it. This one is the very much basic law of the electromagnetics. The second law states that the magnitude of the induced EMF in a coil is equal to the rate of change of the flux linkage. Now let us see one demonstration of the Faraday's laws. So Faraday has observed these two things. First thing is that the amount of voltage induced in a coil is directly proportional to the rate of change of flux with respect to coil, and the another observation he has made is that the amount of voltage induced in a coil is directly proportional to the number of turns of wire in the coil. So here a Faraday's first law demonstration is observed. If you are changing a magnet through a coil, so what will happen? As the magnet moves slowly to the right, its magnetic field is changing with respect to coil, and voltage is induced in the circuit. So that induced voltage is measured in terms of voltage. Now if I am doing the fast operation and I am changing this magnet fast, so what will happen? That the EMF or the voltage that is induced will be higher. Okay, another law demonstration is that the magnet moves through a coil and induced voltage is also proportional to the number of turns in the coil. See, in the left hand figure you can see that the same it is not a same number of turns are used. Here in the left hand figure the number of turns are used are less, and if I am passing this magnet through this coil, so what will happen? That EMF that is induced will be lesser. But here the EMF when this magnet cuts this conductor conducting coil, the EMF that is induced will be larger. So the Faraday's law states that the voltage induced across a coil of wire equals the number of turns in the coil times the rate of change of magnetic flux. Okay, now we will see Lenz's law. It defines the polarity or the direction of the induced voltage. When the current through a coil changes the polarity of the induced voltage that is created by changing the magnetic field is such that it will always oppose the change in the circuit change in the current that cause it. Okay, before starting to the example, first we will see one demonstration of the Lenz's law and the Faraday's law. So the Lenz's law, Faraday's law states that whenever there is a change in the magnetic flux linked with the circuit, an EMF is induced and it will induce a current. However, it lasts only so long as the magnetic flux is changing. So here in this circuit you can see that a coil is connected with one galvanometer. Now if I am changing the magnetic flux, that means if I am putting this magnet in the coil, so what will happen? That slowly the galvanometer will get deflection, right? So this one is basically a Faraday's law. Now we will see the Lenz's law. See, to see the Lenz's law, we are connecting a circuit in which a DC supply is connected with a switch and a U core coil is connected. Now what will happen? As I click on the power button, so what will happen? That the switch will get closed. But due to this Lenz's law, what is Lenz's law states that an EMF or the current that will induce, that will oppose the flow of main flux. So what will happen? That it will oppose the main flux, and you will see some magic. That magic will be like this. Whenever I am power on button, what will happen? That this piece of metallic will be directly thrown up because it is getting a force in the magnetic field. So this was the related to the Lenz law demonstration. Now we will see one small example based on the this law. You have to find out the EMF in a coil of 200 tons when there is a change of flux of 30 milliweber linking with the circuit up to 40 millisecond. So how you will find it? You know the value of delta phi, that is the flux, rate of change of flux. How much is the flux? It is 30 Weber per 30 milliweber. So first you have to convert it into the Weber. So it will be 30 into the 3 raised to 10 raised to minus 3 Weber. In the time, the rate of change of time when I am changing the flux, it is delta t is equal to 40 millisecond. So 40 multiplied by 10 raised to 3, that is in terms of now second. So induced EMF, how I can find? Induced EMF E is equal to minus n d phi by dt. Now I know the value of d phi and I know the value of dt also. So and I know also the number of turns, that n is the number of turns, it is 200 turns. So if I am putting this in the value, I will get E is equal to minus 150. So if I am having this circuit setup, I can generate 150 voltage in the circuit. That voltage can be measured with the help of voltmeter. Okay, till now we have seen the Fleming's rule and the Faraday's laws. Now we will see what is the difference between the statically and the dynamically induced EMFs. So statically induced EMF is nothing but the EMF that is induced by the variation of flux is termed as the statically induced EMF. In this case, the conductor is held stationary and magnetic field varies. We have seen some demonstration, so I will not show you again the demonstration, but you can now assume that if I am changing the magnetic field, I am not changing the conductor, I am not putting the conductor in a motion, I am changing the magnetic field. So what will happen? That an EMF will be induced in the circuit. EMF, that means electromotive force, or it is a voltage, right? So EMF will be generated in the circuit. There are two types of statically induced EMF. One is called the self-induced EMF and another one is called the mutually induced EMF. So now we will see each EMF one by one. So self-induced EMF is the EMF that is induced in a coil due to the change of flux produced by it linking with its own turn is called the self-induced EMF. Now to understand this self-induced EMF, consider a coil having n turns and it is energized by a battery. So it will, as it is energized by a battery, what will happen? A flux will also link with its own turn. Let us show one diagram. See, this one is the coil, right? This coil I am having a n number of turns and it is further connected with a battery and one rheostat. Now what I am doing? I am changing the magnetic field, or whenever I am giving the supply through a battery, what will happen? That a flux will be developed in the conductor, right, or in the coil. This is shown by this F, this phi. Now if I want to increase this flux, so what I can do? I can decrease the resistance. So as I am decreasing the resistance, what will happen? As we know that V is equal to I into R. So if I am decreasing the value of resistance, what will happen? That V will be increased, that voltage will be increased, and the flux will be and the current that is flowing, that is denoted by I in the circuit, will get increased. So as the current is increased, the flux will also get increased. So we can say that as the flux is increased, an EMF will be produced in the coil. So that EMF is nothing but it is proportional to the change of the current, or it is directly proportional to the current, or how much time it is changing. So we can say that E is proportional to d dt of I. So if I remove the proportionality sign, I can write E is equal to L di by dt. So L is nothing but a constant of proportionality and is called coefficient of self induction of the coil. So this equation you have to remember for solving the numericals. Okay, now we'll see mutually induced EMF. The EMF that is induced in a coil due to the change of flux produced by another neighboring coil linking with it is called the mutually induced EMF. It can be of course detected by the galvanometer across the coil. So now we will see one demonstration. See, if I am putting two different coil, one is having N1 turn and another one is having N2 turn. Now what I am doing, I am connecting it with a battery and one resistance, and this K is the switch. So if I am putting this K switch on, what will happen? That due to the battery connection, what will happen? That the current will flow through the coil as per the value of resistance, of course. If the resistance value is less, what will happen? That the current that is flowing will be less. If the value of the resistance is larger, the current that is flowing will be larger. But when I am passing a current in this coil that is having N1 turns, and if I am putting another coil, I am not connecting it with any battery, but it is of course having N2 turns. Let's assume that this N1 is having 10 turn and this N2 is having 12 turns. So what will happen? When I am connecting it with this coil 1 as a battery, with the battery, a flux will develop. But due to this flux, some flux will link with the another coil also, with this B coil also. So this coil will also induce current in it. So that current can be find out, or that EMF is called the mutual EMF, that is denoted by EM. So EM is also proportional to the di by dt, that is how much time the current is passing through the coil 1, right? So if I remove the proportionality, so what will happen? EM is equal to m di by dt, where m is the constant of proportionality and is called coefficient of mutual induction of the coil. So this formula also you have to remember for solving the numericals of the mutually induced EMF and self-induced EMF. Now we will see the dynamically induced EMF. See, this dynamically induced EMF is used in the generator. So what will happen in the dynamically induced EMF? See, if I am changing the conductor in between the two magnet, that is here I am changing the conductor. Let's assume that A is the conductor. So what will happen? That the flux that is linked with the coil will be P into L into dx. So B is the flux density, L is the length of conductor, and x is the Weber. So time taken is generally taken as a dt. So the rate of change of flux linkage in the dynamically induced EMF is equal to BL dx divided by dt. That is BL into dx divided by dt. So dynamically induced EMF, you can say that it is nothing but BLV volt, where dx by dt is the velocity. That is how much time I am changing this conductor in between the two magnet. You please consider that in between these conductors I have put two magnets, and I am continuously changing this conductor with some velocity. So the EMF will be induced in the circuit. That EMF is called the dynamically induced EMF. Okay, now we will see what is the difference between statically induced EMF and the dynamically induced EMF. See, the statically induced EMF, we can say that it is induced in the circuit or in the conductor, or where the conductor or the coil will remain stationary. As the name suggests that it is a statically, that means some part will be stationary, while in the dynamically EMF induced EMF thing, something will be rotated, right? So the magnetic field will get rotated in the dynamically induced EMF. So this one is the first difference between between statically induced EMF and the dynamically induced EMF. In the statically induced EMF, the magnetic field will get rotated, and the in the dynamically induced EMF, the magnetic field remains stationary and the conductor move across the field will get changed. The second difference in the statically induced EMF is that the direction of the EMF that is induced can be found out with the Lenz law, while the dynamically induced EMF, we can say that the direction of the induced EMF can be found by the Fleming's right hand rule. We will see Fleming's right hand rule and left hand rule in the next session when we see the different between those two rules. See, another difference is that the magnitude of the EMF is given. If the statically induced EMF is there, then the magnitude of the EMF can be given by the Faraday's law, while in the dynamically induced EMF, the magnitude of the EMF is given by E, that is E is the induced EMF, is equal to B into L into V into sin theta. See, the transformer is basically works on the principle of statically induced EMF. So transformer is the example in which the statically induced EMF is used. Generator works on the principle of the dynamically induced EMF. So the equations in the statically induced EMF is equal to, if I want to find, then E is equal to minus n d phi by dt. These are the references which I have used. In today's lecture, I am acknowledged by Cognifront and Maxzil Private Limited that they have support me for the animations. Okay, in the next session, we will see if I am connecting two inductors in series or in parallel, what will be the effect. We have already seen if we connect the resistance, two resistor or two capacitor in series or in parallel, what will be happen. In the next session, we will see how we can connect the two inductors in series and parallel, and we will see some theories related to electricity.